sugar, spice, dash of advice. Now, whether you're dealing with lockdown, not knowing how to cope with it, not knowing how to help your kids cope with lockdown, whether you're getting divorced, whether you getting separated, having to deal with the death of a loved one, whether you lost your job, it doesn't really matter. What we are focusing on is the commonality in all of these things, and that is change. All of these things mean change. Changing from the old way of doing things to finding and discovering a new way of doing things. And the new is very different to the old, if you haven't noticed. And it's in finding this new that is so different that we often find it difficult to deal with the transition between old and new. It's just amazing to me how we get through changes, and once you get into the rhythm of the new, you stand back and you're so amazed at, oh, I can't believe I got through it. But we always seem to get through it. But what's really, really astonishing to me is that very few, if any, make notes of how they move from the old to the new. And I don't mean detail of bank accounts and addresses and people. I mean the very basics, the very start, steps and end of what you did transitioning from old to new. This how-to is called principles. It's the principles that get us from old to new. It's just the very basics. It has a start, it has a walking, the steps, and it has an end. And end doesn't mean end like now you're going 6 foot under the ground. End simply means an achievement, an accomplishment of what you strive for. But as we well know, life moves through phases and cycles, and one end just means the beginning of something new. Because principles are the basics, it applies, it's universal, it applies to anyone, anywhere, anytime, just all the any's. Right now, many of us find ourselves locked down, locked away, locked behind, call it whatever you want it. We're locked. And this locked is very different to just the free flow of what we used to have. Now, you cannot choose being locked down, but you can choose what this lockdown is going to be to you. So you can choose to allow this lockdown to be a distraction and look at it as a distraction and stay miserable. And remember that a distraction is something that's flattened and it's demolished. It's done. It's over. Or you can choose to look at the lockdown as something constructive, something to build, something to raise, and something to establish, something that is new, and be happy in this construction. Now, going back to something that's demolished, I mean, it's destructive, it's demolished, it's flattened, it's gone, it's no longer there. That's what the word means. So there is no going back. So the quicker you start with getting to move in what's new, the better. Because that's just what you have right now. Living in the now and taking a hold of this is where I am now and getting started with where I am right now and what I have right now. And then to start it with a finish in mind, getting an image, and you better get an image in there very quickly of where you are going to, the finish, the end of what you want to achieve, what you want to accomplish, because it's that image that you're going to start chasing and you're going to start walking in. And the quicker you do, the quicker you're going to be and live in what is new. Let's get practical with sugar, spice, dash of advice. First, stop. Stop. Stop, stop, stop. Brakes, stop. Stop thinking and talking about the old. That's why it's called old. If you do talk about it, you only talk about it in a constructive manner. In other words, you identify the very basics of what you want in the new. What, who, where you want in the new. Now, please, people, don't go wanting your ex. That's why it's called an ex. It's on the old. Wanting an ex or wanting to visit your friends during lockdown, that's just dumb. That's just dumb. Because no, that's not wanting. That's just wishful thinking. It's fantasizing about something. And the thing with fantasy and wishing for something is that it's a waste of energy for something that you're never going to accomplish. So let it go. Let it go, let it go. You might want to learn that song. If there is something, someone in the old that you want in the new, find the basic in there. So, for instance, you can't go wishing for a tree from a burnt down forest. Dumb. You can't. That's what burned down means. But I could go and I could find the basics in what I want from that burnt down forest. So I'd like something green. I'd like something big. I'd like something that could make a shade so I can sit in the shade. Do you understand what I mean by constructive? Because in finding the constructive basic thing that I want, it helps me to later find the steps of how to achieve exactly that. You need to find the basics in, I want to go visit my friends during lockdown. You can't go visit your friends during lockdown, but you can identify what is the very basic in that. So I'd like to communicate with them. I'd like to talk with them. I'd like to spend time with them. Now we're getting practical, because now we can take that and we can take that very basic and we can turn it into a practical for the now. And that's what I mean with, if you want to talk about the old, do it in a constructive manner and not a destructive manner. Choose what you want. Step 1, stop talking about the old. Step 2 is start. Start finding the list, drawing up a list of what it is that you want for the now, what you want to find now and where you want to get to. Third is the end, the finish, where I want to be and where I'm working towards. Now, get really practical with this. A few years ago, when I found myself in a transitioning from an old to a new, I sat down and I started making a list. I made a list of where I wanted to be, the new that I wanted to accomplish. I went and I searched for images. I Googled images. I went through magazines and I got it out and I made this huge poster that hung in my room for months, really years, of where I wanted to be, what I wanted to accomplish, what was the finish. Now, the thing with the finish is, when I got there and I accomplished the poster, I was living the poster. And that just taught me the principle of how to start something new, how to walk into something new, and how to find the finish. Ever since then, there's been many starts, steps, and accomplishments. So, get started with the new.